So there is something else I did play this month, but it was only for a couple of hours really, and that is Elden Ring Nightreign.
Oh, I
Because
forgot that was now
yeah,
the network test.
that's right. Yes, I managed to get selected to be included in the network test beta build thingamajig. So, for those who haven't seen this new spin-off game from Software, Elden Ring Nightreign is basically a roguelike twist on Elden Ring. It's designed to be multiplayer online co-op with teams of 3 going up against the forces of I don't know, whatever. Apparently, yeah. Apparently, there will be offline single player ways to play too, which is nice. But the general premise is you are dropped into a bit of the lands between with 3 in-game days to survive. Starts on day 1, obviously.
Starts on day 3.
That's the twist. And during the daytime, you've got a short period of time to explore, fight mobs of enemies, seek out mini bosses, build experience, level up, find good weapons, and sort of try and make a good build. Find loads of cool stuff before night begins to fall. And when night begins to fall, it takes the form of an ever-closing ring on the map, battle royale style, with you trying to outrun the darkness to a point where you and your teammates will take on a big boss. Survive that, you get to day 2, day 3, final boss. Then at the end of a run, you'll be if you die or if you're successful, you get rewarded with relics and runes that you can then use to upgrade your character and stats and things like that before you go back out again for more. It was really, really great to get hands-on with Nightreign because I'd seen the reveal trailer for it. It looked awesome. I'd read a few reports on how, the Elden Ring core gameplay had been, drastically streamlined to work for this short-form arcadey twist. But it was only really when I started to play it that I started to make sense of what this game was, how it feels, and get a glimpse of its potential. There were a series of Nightreign network tests happening over a long weekend last week. Well, it doesn't really matter. And I'd put 2 of those sessions in my diary for ones that I was going to be able to sort of log on for. Unfortunately, I spent the entire first session not being able to be logged into the service.
Amazing.
Comforted by the fact that this sort of error was exactly what these network tests were about, and I was in some way helping.
Name of the credits, yeah?
Absolutely.
Network.
So despite not actually being able to be logged in to play the actual game itself of Nightreign, I was able to explore the
menus.
The hub area. Well, yeah, basically the hub area, which is like a tweaked version of the round table hold from the main game, and do a bit of sparring in the little sort of trial combat area, get used to the new combat. But it was only on the second session that I was able to actually play, and unfortunately I had no problem logging into their servers, getting match made with a couple of others straight away, launched straight into the game. And I mean, the first thing that strikes you in Nightreign is just how much faster paced the game is than Elden Ring. You've got this is good information for you, Chris. Your sprint button is on L3.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of where you expect it to be, but I hate having to use L3 for anything. I really don't like using it. It's my least favourite button on the controller.
I still haven't got used to it being a like a viable button. It's ridiculous. It's only worse. The only thing worse than that is having to do some sort of motion control, but it's halfway there. And you run really fast when that's triggered. You can jump and vault up walls. There's no fall damage, so there's no risk with like charging off at just a heck of a pace. You also don't have to worry about your setup too much in terms of like your weapons and armor. You don't have any armor in the game at all, so you don't need to worry about like tweaking individual pieces of armor to make sure you're not exceeding a weight limit. It's pretty much all about weapon management. You've got a few weapon slots. Some weapons also have passive ability, so it's worth holding on to them in your inventory, even if you don't fight with them. You'll find items to use for various things, like you would in the Elden Ring main game. There's all manner of weapons and spells and everything you would expect. And it didn't take long to start to get an idea of how a certain build would begin to take shape in this new setup, looking at things on your weapons like bleed and poison and other effects that will be, attached to different weapons. You might find that, to synergize with something else, make that more effective. Obviously there's tons of variety in there. And inevitably you end up tweaking your build strategy depending on what weapons you find. So you probably end up playing very differently many times, as of course you would hope to in a good roguelike.
Yeah.
But the serious variety in Nightreign comes in the form of the different classes of character you choose, because these are radically different to each other. In the network test, there were 4 to choose from, with the sort of like an all-rounder type, a sort of guardian tank type, a sort of glass cannon rogue type, and a magic user. I only tried 2 of these out, actually. But that's something that... but what comes with them is something that's like very new for Nightreign, which is special abilities for these characters that are on cooldown timers, like you would expect in like an action RPG, like in Diablo or something like that. Each character has like a main one that can be used fairly frequently, and then like an ultimate one that needs to be sort of charged up. But with like some good strategy and communication between your team, you can then combine these as well with like the other characters' ones to have like seriously powerful effects. And it's an element I can't wait for in the full game when I'm playing with friends, because I had no verbal communication with the players I was being paired with here, just vaguely following each other around and dropping pins on a map to all sort of head somewhere together. I played for about, 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. I never got to the end of a full run. I failed every time because obviously the game's pretty brutal, especially when you're learning the ropes of the mechanics and the combat alongside 2 other people doing exactly the same. There's some stuff I only twigged on like right near the end of my time testing the game out, like ways to increase your health flask charges, which I just never found on my other runs, which would have made a very, very big difference. I mean, potential for Nightreign is enormous. We just tried out 1 map with 1 final boss that I never even got to. When they start chucking in all the bosses in the game and different maps and a whole host of other character classes and other things, it's going to be so good to play, especially with friends. I can't wait. Like, it'll probably be the first time I've actively done online gaming in this style.
Yeah.
But the closest I've come before is like teaming up with Casper or like another friend to do Monster Hunter quests.
Yeah.
Something which I'll hopefully be doing as these listeners are listening to this Monster Hunter Wilds. But a sort of vocal type communication battle royale style thing in the world of Elden Ring. Can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. The only thing that concerns me with Nightreign is whether or not Fromsoft are going to stick to their promise of no like microtransactions, battle pass, season stuff, because that's a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
I saw some reports of a notice appearing on the Nightreign storefront page on the PlayStation Store saying something like additional characters and bosses will be available as DLC, which was then swiftly taken down.
Yeah.
It made me feel a little concerned that they might try and milk me, which I don't want. I mean, I'll be buying the game and playing it day one. If anyone else listening wants to link up for some sessions, come find us in the O3C Discord. And
your new channel, I imagine.
There, very, very, very likely.